Alright, this is the causes of the French Revolution leading up to the actual war, 1789, and a lot of factors are economic factors that play into this. The first part is food, how it's tied in. For many years they had really bad harvests, grain products were down, and the transportation system was so bad that the cost of bread had skyrocketed. Not only did farmers need to raise the price so that they could survive, but also the cost of the transportation was much more because it was harder, it was more difficult, and because of that, people could not afford bread. So it led to a lot of malnourished people. And keep in mind that the people are very large in number. So this is a large group of people that are very upset because of their situation. France also had spent a lot of money in the military. They had gone to war with one of the greatest naval powers, Great Britain, and they were just outmatched. And this war was the 7 Years' War, and as a result of that, Great Britain took over more colonies in the New World, and France lost a lot, which means that their income was hurt pretty badly, so they became more poor over time. Now, King Louis XVI, this king presented himself very extravagantly, lived a very lavish lifestyle, and politically he was actually very indecisive and a pushover by a lot of people. When he came up with an idea, the parliament would usually just boo him and shut him up and basically try and run the country themselves. So he wasn't a very effective king, and the people didn't like him because the parliament was sending out pamphlets and flyers giving false information about the king and going out against the king. So he wasn't that bad. He was made out to be a lot worse than what he was. This led to a lot of people protesting and starting to talk. They wanted different kinds of freedoms. They wanted religious, political equality. They wanted social equality and economic equality. And they had every right to complain about this and demand it. This led to the Estates General. This is a meeting of people, and when I say estates, we're talking about groups of people, and there were three main groups. The clergy was the first, nobles were the second, and the third group were the common people, which was made up of the largest number of people. And eventually, people started leaving the nobles and coming over to the common people, the third estate. They liked the ideas, they liked how they were organized, and they started switching sides. The king, not liking this, shut down the meeting, and the third estate ended up moving to the king's tennis courts. And they literally had their meeting on the king's tennis courts, and this is where they morphed into the National Assembly, a much larger group, a much more organized group, and they were determined to get a constitution made up in France. Well, the king kicked them off their court, and they finally left after just a few days, and they ended up meeting in a church. Well, at this point, a lot of clergy had decided they wanted to switch over to the third estate too, switch over to the National Assembly. So now you basically have two sides. You have the king and his loyal people against the National Assembly, which is a large group. In 1792, a republic is established and the king is beheaded. And this leads to outside invasions, this leads to foreign wars and the beginning of the French Revolutionary War.